Good morning, dear one. Today is a brand new beginning, and I get to choose how I will love myself. There's something so tender about the early hours, before the world rushes in with its noise and demands. I used to wake up feeling behind, behind, behind in time, behind in life, behind in love. The mornings were full of heaviness, worry, and to-do lists. But something changed when I began to see each sunrise as a quiet invitation. Will you choose love today? Now, my mornings feel sacred, not because they're perfect or always peaceful, but because they are mine. They are my chance to come back to myself before anything else claims my attention. Before I check a message, before I remember yesterday's struggles, I take a breath and I choose me. I've learned that every thought I think is a seed, and I am the gardener of my mind. In the silence of the morning, I plant what I wish to grow: peace, gratitude, joy, abundance, self-love. I don't wait for the world to give me permission. I give it to myself. There was a time when I didn't know how to talk kindly to myself. I thought that if I was hard on myself, I would improve. That if I worried enough, I could prevent pain. But that only made my inner world more fearful, more chaotic. I was speaking in weeds instead of watering flowers. One morning, I realized something simple but life-changing. I don't need to be perfect to begin my day with love. I just need to be willing. So now, each day, before I do anything else, I pause, I breathe, I greet myself the way I might greet a beloved child, a dear friend, gently, with kindness, with presence, and in that moment I reclaim my power, because how I speak to myself shapes how I live, because the way I begin my morning is the way I begin my life again and again. This practice is not about getting it right. It's about coming back with compassion, not judgment. If my mind wanders, I bring it home. If fear rises, I breathe love into it. If I forget, I remember again. So let me begin this day, not in a rush, but in reverence. Let me begin with a thought that uplifts. Let me begin with a feeling that nourishes. Let me begin with the truth. Life loves me, and today I say yes to that love. Before you read on, will you join me? Place your hand over your heart, close your eyes for a moment, and softly whisper with me, I am worthy of a beautiful morning. Feel how your body responds. Maybe your breath slows. Maybe your shoulders soften. Maybe your heart opens just a little. That's where love begins. That's where your power returns. That's where your day starts to bloom. Let me walk with you now through the garden of my morning mind. Together, we will plant seeds of joy, compassion, and abundance, and watch them grow. Each morning, as I slowly awaken, I imagine my mind as a garden. There's a softness in the early light, a kind of magic that arrives before the noise of the world takes hold. It's in this space, between sleep and the start of the day, that I get to decide what will I grow in my inner world today. For so many years, I didn't even realize I was a gardener. Thoughts would spring up: fear, self-doubt, resentment, and I'd assume they were just facts. I didn't question them. I didn't know I had a choice. But I've come to understand that many of those thoughts weren't truly mine. They were planted long ago by family patterns, cultural messages, moments of pain or rejection. They became weeds, growing quietly in the corners of my consciousness. You're not enough. You'll never get it right. Don't expect too much. Some days, I'd wake and feel that tightness in my chest before I even opened my eyes. A weight, unspoken, but familiar. That's when I started to ask, what am I telling myself right here at the root of my day? And more importantly, is it kind? Is it helpful? Is it even true? The moment I realized I could tend to my mind like a living, breathing garden, everything shifted. I began to notice the weeds, not with judgment, but with curiosity. I would think, oh, there's fear again. There's perfectionism. There's the old belief that I have to prove my worth. And I learned something beautiful. Even when weeds appear, I can still plant something new. I am the gardener of my mind. I plant thoughts of love. That is my foundational truth and the beginning of every healing day. So now, in the gentle light of morning, I visualize sunlight pouring into the soil of my thoughts. I imagine warmth melting away the coldness of yesterday's worries. I breathe deeply, and with each breath, I choose what I will plant today. Not perfection, not control, not comparison, but compassion, patience, hope. I speak to myself like a trusted friend. I don't try to fix every problem before breakfast. I simply set the tone, I lay the soil, and I remind myself, this garden grows what I nurture. So today, I plant gentleness. I plant joy. I plant space to begin again. And just like that, I've already created something beautiful before the world has even asked me to do a thing. There was a time I truly believed I had to earn love. If I was helpful enough, kind enough, smart enough, thin enough, perfect enough, maybe then I'd be worthy. That belief didn't come out of nowhere. It was rooted in childhood moments, small but sharp. Times when I felt invisible unless I was performing. Times when love seemed to arrive only when I pleased others. So I learned to achieve. I learned to please. I became very good at reading a room, shaping myself to fit what I thought others wanted me to be. But in all that performing, I forgot something essential. I already mattered, just by being me. I once believed love had conditions, and I lived that belief in my friendships, in my work, in the way I treated my body. I didn't know that I could say no and still be loved. I didn't know I could rest and still be valuable. I didn't know I could make mistakes and still be whole. And then, one day, everything stopped. It wasn't dramatic, no lightning bolt, no grand awakening, just a quiet moment in front of the mirror when I caught my own eyes and whispered something new. I approve of myself. I didn't believe it at first, not really. Saying those words felt foreign, awkward, like pretending, but something in me, something deeper stirred. So I said it again and again and again. And each morning I stood before my reflection, placed my hands over my heart and said, I am worthy because I exist. I approve of myself. My worth is not up for negotiation. At first, my inner critic screamed back, no, you're not. Not yet. Not until you fix everything. But I kept going because something inside me wanted to believe, and slowly the shifts began. My posture softened. I no longer held tension in my shoulders the way I used to. My breath deepened. I started to feel at home in my body. My relationships changed. I stopped begging for love and started inviting it. I became less reactive, less desperate to prove something. I became safer with myself. One of the most powerful healing moments came when I looked into my own eyes and didn't flinch. I saw the little child in there, the one who had tried so hard for so long to be good enough. And I whispered, you are already everything I hoped you'd be. To this day, I still say those affirmations, not because I'm broken and need fixing, but because I am whole and need reminding. My worth is not a reward I earn. It's a truth I remember. And if you're reading these words now, maybe something in you is remembering too. So let me say this clearly, gently, with my whole heart. You are worthy. You don't have to prove anything. If I can learn to love myself slowly, tenderly, truthfully, so can you. Every morning, I return to the garden of my mind, and each time I bring a little more tenderness. There was a time when I thought healing meant pulling weeds, yanking out every old belief, every negative thought, every trace of fear. But the more I tried to force those thoughts to disappear, the more they seemed to dig in, until one day I realized something. What I resist persists, but what I gently outgrow fades on its own. I stopped waging war against my old beliefs, and instead I began to plant new ones. Just like a gardener doesn't rip out the weeds all at once, I learned to crowd them out, one new, loving thought at a time. I imagined my old fears. I'm not good enough. I'll never have what I need. It's too late for me. slowly being shaded by tall, wild blossoms of truth. I am willing to believe something new about myself. I am growing every day. That first affirmation, I am willing, was a key. I didn't have to instantly believe I was confident, radiant, or successful. I just had to be willing to consider the possibility. That willingness opened a door inside me that had been shut for too long. I started to speak to myself differently, not perfectly, but consciously. When the old voice whispered, "You always mess things up," I replied softly, "I'm learning. I'm growing. I choose compassion." When doubt crept in and said, "You're not doing enough," I paused and reminded myself, "I'm doing my best, and that is more than enough." End of. Each affirmation became like water poured onto new seedlings, gentle, steady, nourishing. I stopped waiting for proof and started building belief. Slowly, my inner world began to shift. But it didn't happen overnight. That's the part many people miss. It's not the dramatic one-time gesture that transforms a life. It's the daily devotion to thinking new thoughts, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So now, I return to my inner garden each day, not as a critic, but as a caretaker. I speak my affirmations with a sense of joy and trust, knowing that change is always blooming below the surface. And when I feel like I'm slipping back into doubt or fear, I remind myself, I am willing to believe something new about myself. I am growing every day because I am, and so are you. There was a time when I didn't even realize I was afraid, not because the fear wasn't there, but because it had settled so deeply into my body. I thought it was just me. It lived in my shoulders, tense and raised like armor. It lived in my jaw, clenched from words I never felt safe to speak. It lived in my breath, shallow, fast, barely filling my lungs. I had grown so used to carrying fear that I called it being realistic, productive, strong. But deep down, I was always bracing for rejection, for failure, for the other shoe to drop. One morning, sitting in silence, I placed a hand over my heart. My jaw ached. My shoulders felt like stone. My thoughts were racing in every direction. And then, like a whisper, I heard something inside me say, "You're just scared, not broken, not failing, just scared." And that awareness changed everything. I had spent years trying to fix myself, but fear was never a flaw. It was just a younger version of me asking to feel safe. And I realized I could give myself that safety now. From that day forward, I began a new practice. Each morning, before the world rushed in, I sat with myself and breathed. I am safe. I am supported. Life loves me. I didn't just say the words, I let them move into the places where fear used to live. I imagined a golden light around me, like a soft cocoon wrapping my entire body, warm, protective, calm. With each breath, the tension melted, just a little. My shoulders softened, my jaw released, my breath deepened. It didn't happen all at once, but something in me began to trust again. I started to see fear not as an enemy, but as a messenger. It showed me where I needed love, where I needed gentleness, where I needed to remind myself, I am safe. I am supported. Life loves me. Whenever fear tried to take over a difficult conversation, an unexpected bill, a vulnerable new beginning, I returned to this mantra like a touchstone. Sometimes I had to say it over and over. Sometimes I cried while whispering it, but every time it brought me back to myself. Affirmations weren't just words. They became a balm for my nervous system, a sacred rhythm that reminded me I was not in danger. I was simply stepping into something new. Today, I still get afraid. That's part of being human. But now, I know how to hold that fear with love, not judgment, because I've learned this truth. Fear dissolves in the presence of love, and I am learning to love myself through it all. For a long time, I feared change, not in dramatic ways. I wasn't afraid of traveling, or trying a new dish, or rearranging furniture. My resistance lived deeper, wrapped around the identities I had outgrown, but still clung to, like a too tight coat I didn't want to take off. I was afraid that if I changed, I'd lose people, that if I changed, I'd have to start over, that if I changed, I'd no longer be me. There's a strange comfort in the familiar, even when it hurts. I had old stories that said I needed to earn love, that I had to be the good one, the quiet one, the one who never asked for too much. Those stories had kept me safe once, but they were also keeping me small. One morning, I sat quietly and felt that old tightness again, the inner tug of war between my longing to grow and my fear of what I'd lose. And then this thought came like a breath of fresh air. What if change isn't loss? What if it's evolution? That idea shifted everything. Change isn't about erasing the past. It's about expanding beyond it. It's about becoming more of who I already am, not less. It was around that time I heard the metaphor of the butterfly. We always talk about how beautiful the wings are, but we rarely speak of the in-between, the cocoon, the stillness, the disintegration of what was before, the emergence of what will be. There is a sacred pause in that process, and it requires surrender. That was the invitation, to let go of who I used to be in order to make room for who I'm becoming. So I began speaking to that part of me that still felt afraid, not with force, but with kindness. I am willing to evolve. I release old stories that no longer fit who I am becoming. Some days, saying those words felt like cracking open. Other days, they felt like liberation. I noticed subtle shifts, new boundaries, new desires, new ways of showing up. And yes, some people drifted, Some things fell away, but in their place came deeper friendships, truer opportunities, and a self I could finally look at and say, "You are allowed to grow." Change, I've learned, is not a betrayal of the past. It's a celebration of possibility. So now, each morning, I meet myself where I am, and I say softly, I am open to new possibilities. I trust the unfolding of my journey. I am allowed to change. Place your hand on your heart and say it with me. I am open to new possibilities. Let that be your morning prayer, a whisper of courage, a breath of trust. Let those words carry you into the day like wings unfolding. For most of my life, I thought I had to chase everything I wanted. I chased approval, chased love, chased success. I thought if I worked hard enough, tried long enough, proved myself often enough, then maybe, just maybe, I would finally earn the life I dreamed of. But chasing always left me tired, and even when something good came along, I didn't know how to receive it. My hands were clenched from holding on so tightly to control, to expectations, to fear. It took me years to realize, what if the good I'm chasing is already circling me, waiting for me to stop running and open the door? That single shift from chasing to allowing softened everything inside me. I began to see affirmations, not as effort, but as gentle invitations. They weren't demands shouted into the universe. They were quiet alignments, soft yeses that tuned my energy to match what I was ready to receive. The turning point came one quiet morning. I had been journaling and repeating this affirmation. I am open to receive what is already mine. I didn't try to picture how it would happen. I didn't beg. I simply breathed and let the words settle. And as I walked through my day, something shifted. I received an unexpected phone call with an opportunity I'd wanted for months. It came not because I forced it, but because I had finally made space for it. That was the lesson. When I stopped pushing, life could finally flow. When I unclenched my hands, they became open palms. When I softened my grip on what I thought I needed, I made room for something even better. Now I visualize my blessings like soft golden light, hovering, waiting, circling just outside the door of my resistance. Every time I affirm my openness, that door cracks wider. I've stopped begging life to give me what I want. Instead, I remind myself that much of it has already been given. I'm just now learning to receive it. I allow good to flow into my life. I am worthy of ease, support, and unexpected joy. I open my heart to what is already seeking me. Today, when I speak my affirmations, I don't strain, I don't hustle, I simply breathe. I remember that receiving is not weakness, it is wisdom, it is trust, it is alignment. Because the truth is, what's meant for me doesn't need to be chased, it needs to be welcomed. So now, I rise each morning and say with a quiet smile, I am open to receive what is already mine. And then I let the day surprise me. Some mornings I still forget. I forget how far I've come. I forget how powerful my words are. I forget that I get to choose how I speak to myself. But then I return, not with judgment, but with gentleness. This is the heart of my practice, not perfection, but presence, not speed, but softness, and above all, consistency. Affirmations for me are like brushing my teeth or watering a beloved plant. I don't do it because I'm broken. I do it because I'm growing. I do it because just like the body needs movement and nourishment, the mind needs kindness. It needs repetition. It needs love spoken aloud. There was a time when affirmations felt foreign, like I was trying on someone else's voice. I am strong. I am loving. I am whole. At first, those words trembled in my mouth. They didn't feel like mine. They felt like hope wrapped in discomfort. But I kept going. I whispered them while walking. I said them softly before bed. I looked into the mirror with unsure eyes and still tried to believe. Some days I cried. Some days I laughed. But I kept showing up. And then something magical happened. One day, the affirmations stopped feeling like new words and started sounding like my true voice. The shift wasn't loud or sudden. It was quiet and deep, like a river changing course beneath the surface. The inner critic softened, the doubt quieted, and in its place, something beautiful bloomed, belief. Now, my daily affirmations feel like tiny sacred rituals, not because they make life perfect, but because they remind me I am already whole in the midst of it all. I am strong. I am loving. I am whole. These are not just words I say anymore. They are truths I live into, gently, one morning at a time. So if you're reading this and wondering when it will start to work, when the shift will come, when the healing will stick, I say this with love. Keep going. Even on the days when your voice shakes. Even on the days when the old beliefs whisper louder. Just keep going. Because transformation is not a single moment. It is 1,000 quiet choices. 1,000 kind repetitions. 1,000 mornings where you say, I choose love again. This practice isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you already are beneath the noise. So tomorrow morning and the next I will rise, place my hand on my heart, and speak with care. I am strong. I am loving. I am whole. And I will keep watering the garden of my mind, because this gentle daily return is how we bloom. There was a time I didn't realize I was planting anything at all. My mind ran wild with old stories, inherited fears, and echoes of voices that weren't even mine. I woke up each morning bracing for the day, trying to be enough, to do enough, all the while unknowingly sowing seeds of doubt and unworthiness. But something in me knew there had to be another way. And so one morning, just like this, I paused. I placed my hand on my heart and whispered a new thought. I am willing to believe something new about myself. That whisper became a practice. That practice became a path. And that path brought me here to a life that feels more like home. I learned to become the gardener of my own mind, choosing with intention what I plant and nurture. I learned that fear isn't a flaw, it's a part of me that longs for safety. And I am now the one who can offer that safety. I traded the belief that I had to earn love for the truth that I am love. I released the need to resist change and opened to receive what had been waiting for me all along. I let go of who I was taught to be so I could become who I truly am, and I continue to return again and again to this truth. Every morning, I wake up and choose myself again. I meet the day with love, because love is who I am becoming. This is not a destination, it's a devotion, a sacred daily return. So now, dear one, I invite you to practice with me, not perfectly, just presently. Let's breathe together gently, fully, and say aloud, I am open and receptive to all good. Life loves me. And let those words settle into your body like morning sunlight through an open window. Feel them not as wishes, but as truth. Here's the ritual I've come to love. Morning. Place your hand on your heart before rising and affirm, I am a blessing to this day, and this day is a blessing to me. Evening. Before sleep, speak softly to your soul. Thank you, life, for loving me through another day. And peanut anytime. When doubt visits or the noise grows loud, return to the breath and remind yourself, I choose love, I choose me. And now, as we close this gentle walk together, I leave you with this. Dear one, walk gently through this day. Let your thoughts be your companions, your breath be your guide, and your love be the light you share. Life loves you, and today you get to love yourself right back. This moment is yours. This day is yours, and you, just as you are enough.